Aniimo is a stunning, creature-catching open-world RPG set to release sometime this year, with the second closed beta test happening this week. On top of this, we've just received new details about the game, addressing some of your most asked questions. Hello friends, Sarah Sunstone here, and welcome back to Thinking Out Loud. Today, I'll be sharing my thoughts on a series of official questions and answers from the Aniimo team, covering topics of character customization, monetization, platforms, and more. In the case that you're unfamiliar with this upcoming game, I'll have some additional content linked in the description to bring you up to speed. Please shine that lovely like button if you're excited for Aniimo, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel with your notifications on so you don't miss out on updates, gameplay, and more. Otherwise, without any further ado, let's get right into it. So in terms of Aniimo's planned release, we know the game is releasing sometime this year, and we also have some confirmed platforms for launch, which include PC, Xbox, and mobile. But the first question asks if there are any plans or considerations to expand this at some point to officially support other platforms, and if so, would they consider Linux, Mac, PlayStation, and Nintendo? So the team did just reiterate those plans to launch on PC, Xbox Series X and S, and mobile, but they do want to be sure that as many people as possible can enjoy playing Aniimo on whichever platform they want. So they are exploring other platforms, however, they can't share more specific details yet. I think this is really exciting to hear. I think it's great that we already have a few different options to choose from, but I definitely could see quite the demand for Aniimo to launch on PS5 and Nintendo Switch 2 as well. So it will be really interesting to see if that ends up happening. If they want to be able to offer cross-platform progression, then there would require some, additional coordination through the different platform holders and such. And I wasn't sure if they had any sort of limited time exclusivity deal with Xbox for marketing, since they were initially presented at one of their showcases. That's when the big reveal was. So there could be, something there, or it could just be a bit of a coincidence. As someone who primarily plays her games on PS5 whenever possible, I would love to see a PlayStation 5 version of Aniimo, but we will just have to stay tuned on these other platforms. The next question asks if they plan to introduce guilds to the game, and if so, what will the players be able to do within them? So in case anyone's unfamiliar with what exactly this might mean, guilds are essentially organized player groups that will team up for different shared gameplay goals. There's also that social interaction component, and a lot of the times you will take on some more difficult content, like a raid or a dungeon, so you can better take this on when you have the support of a community to go into it. And then at times with this, you'll get special bonuses, rewards. There might even be unique quests tailored to guilds specifically, and these can range from smaller friend groups to massive organized groups that take on these gameplay goals together. So the team responded by saying there's no guilds planned right now, but there are many other features that enable players to play together, and we have seen a lot more of this more recently in the most recent Aniimo showcase, which I'll have my coverage of that linked in the description for you guys. They did announce the egg heist mode, so that's a PvP, PvE kind of situation. So you have different teams that go in to this island, and you're basically looting and battling Aniimo, and in certain cases, trying to be the team that takes home the big rare egg. But you do also have the option to go in on your own and just kind of loot and stay out of the main action, collect a bunch of treasure and bring it back home with you. So that is one of the main multiplayer modes, it seems. But there are optional PvP battles. There is also optional holo battle sim modes for multiplayer, where you can team up in a group of 4 and battle against different Aniimo bosses together. And then there's more relaxed gameplay and multiplayer as well, so you can share experiences together on your homestead. It seems like there could be even more ways to play together than what I've listed here. This is just what's been confirmed so far. So if you're looking for multiplayer experiences, there's a ton here, but I do really appreciate that they're implementing it in a way that doesn't detract from the solo single-player nature of the game too. So you can go out and have that single-player adventure in the open world. You can do your thing without really having to see anyone else if you don't want to, but then you also have the option to connect with other folks, meet friends, group up with people you actually know, and take on things together, like There's lots of options for this in the game, but yeah, no guilds planned at this time. Question number 3 asks if Aniimo will be getting a native Linux build. So Linux is an open source operating system, kind of like Windows or Mac OS. It's just its own version of that. And the team shared that they don't have any plans for a Linux build at the moment. They know that Linux is a popular operating system, but right now the dev team's focus is on improving the game, and unfortunately they just don't have the resources to dedicate elsewhere. They do suggest that you try the PC build if you have a Linux system, although they might not be able to provide the same level of support. So it seems like you do have the option still to use the PC build, though it's not being designed specifically for Linux. Now, question number 4 is one that I was so excited to see being answered, because this is something that I was really curious about and something that I really wanted to see adjusted in the game. So the question is, are there going to be any changes to the restrictions around customization based on character gender? In the first beta, we saw there were some character options such as hair and cosmetic and outfit options limited to whether or not you selected a male or a female Pathfinder. Many folks believe that Aniimo would benefit from allowing players to use all options and items interchangeably to create the character that they want to best represent them and spend time playing as in the world of Idle. And I could not agree with this more. Aniimo has incredible character customization. I have a showcase on my channel of it that you can check out, but you will notice that once I did select that female character for my Pathfinder, I wasn't able to check out all of the quote-unquote male options. So once you pick a box for yourself, you basically have to stick with it, and I don't really see the need for that because everything is so like fluid in the character creator. You have all these toggles and sliders and color wheels. Like, it is so ambitious, and so there's so many options for creating your Pathfinder. So to have that restriction just seems like counterintuitive to everything else that they've presented with us, and just honestly doesn't make sense. So I'm really happy to hear the answer, which is, we're glad you asked. In the first beta test, we were stuck for time, and some things were not perfect. Nonetheless, we were happy to see so many of you enjoying yourselves in the game. In the second beta test, we are still going to use the gender model to decide on your character, including cosmetic items, outfits, and more. However, we know you're expecting more, and in the future, not just accessories, but also cosmetic items will be available for all characters, and we'll also aim to provide a greater variety of outfits that are adapted to suit every Pathfinder's needs, ensuring they're comfortable. So this is amazing news, because I feel like it's so great to be able to pick just from all of the clothing and hairstyles and accessories, regardless of how you identify in terms of gender along a spectrum. So this is excellent news for me, and I do appreciate that they let us know this won't be implemented yet in the next beta, just so we have our expectations set here and we know that they didn't forget about this, or they're not, neglecting it in any way. It's just not ready yet for implementation. But this definitely makes my heart really happy to hear, and I really appreciate it for more reasons than just one. Not only is it just going to be nice to pick from dresses to t-shirts and shorts, regardless of, how you identify, but also it's just going to make it so that everyone can better represent themselves freely and express themselves, without those restrictions. So yay for the Aniimo team. Appreciate this. Thank you for addressing this. Question number 5 asks whether the second beta test will have the option to put an Aniimo in an egg to take to the main game like the first beta test did. So in case you guys missed the first beta test, which I did play on the channel, at the end you were able to seal an Aniimo in an egg. It was like a bonding pact that you made with that Aniimo to reunite with them in the full game. So I thought that was so precious and lovely and special that they included that in the beta test, especially if you became super attached to any of your Aniimo. There were some restrictions around which ones you could save, but yeah, I really appreciated that. I did take advantage of that feature. I sealed away one of my Aniimo in an egg for the full game, and so they are going to be bringing back that feature to the second beta test, which again is this week. So get excited, because we will be streaming it on the channel. Come hang out. It's going to be so fun. And so this will also be called a bonding pact event, which provides another chance to seal an egg. And just like last time, there is a limit on the Aniimo that can be sealed, and they'll let us know which Aniimo you can take with us on our journey when the time comes. Question number 6 asks, what are the plans for the future of Aniimo in terms of long-term mass storage? Avid collectors will likely want to catch all of the sparkling and darkling Aniimo and every single form. So how will Aniimo plan to work in storage of Aniimo friends as they collect more and more through future updates? And this is a great question, because just in the first beta, there was already a ton of Aniimo, like over 60, and there's even more introduced now for the second beta, likely even more for the full release, and who knows if they'll add more in future updates. So where are we gonna even keep all these Aniimo, right? Now, the team says basically not to worry. They're planning to have more storage boxes to unlock once the game has been launched for a while. They understand that, we love to collect and that it's the key in a creature catching game, so don't worry. They're planning on providing several ways for us to unlock more boxes to save our loved ones. So awesome news to hear. There will be storage solutions for all of our creature catching needs. Some of them can hang out on your homeland so they can kind of play around and help power different machinery through those amusement park maker hybrid machines that we saw in the latest showcase. But I'm sure there will be a capacity for how many Aniimo you can have on your homeland, and then, you have your different rosters and your regular Aniimo inventory, and I'm sure that'll have, a maximum as well. So very good question. Good to know there. I'm sure they're thinking about it. They're the ones, designing all of the Aniimo, and they know how many variants and such they have. So there will be solutions. We don't need to worry. The next question asks whether different worldwide regions will be able to play together across servers and party up without having to start a new save file. And the team responded, yes, we will provide the play together and party up feature for different regions whenever possible, as long as there are no legal issues. So that's great news, especially if you have friends, around the world. Just for example, our community is incredibly international. There are Sunstoners all around the world. So if I wanted to play with you guys, it's great to know that it doesn't seem like there will be restrictions based on regions. Even if you're playing on different servers, you should be able to team up and party up together. Now, the next question is definitely one of the hottest topics, I would say, when it comes to Aniimo, just because it is one of the biggest unknowns. And that is, how is the monetization in this game? Because it has been confirmed that Aniimo is free to play. So the team said that they are still working on the specific details and discussing how exactly the monetization will work. But rest assured, they're listening to the community and they know that we do not want to win Aniimo via gacha. So they hear us. They know that. Now, I personally don't jump to conclusions or assumptions. I like to really read the wording of things before I set my expectations. So it is great if they're not going to be putting the Aniimo critters in the gacha, because that means we'll be able to collect all of them just through gameplay, which I think would be in the game's best interest for sure. I wouldn't jump to the conclusion of saying this game isn't going to be gacha at all until they've confirmed that for sure, but they're just saying that we won't be able to win Aniimo via gacha, so that's good. I also wouldn't jump to the conclusion that it is going to be gacha, because they also haven't confirmed that either. It could be something like premium skins like you might see in, say, a Fortnite, where you can, purchase different premium cosmetics for your Pathfinder, maybe different outfits or accessories, maybe for your Pathfinder or Aniimo. There could be some that are earnable via, gameplay and via earned currency, and then there could be others that are premium, or they could technically all be earnable, but there would be a way to purchase the currency if you wanted to get the outfits a little bit quicker rather than earning them in the game. There's so many different ways they could go about this and how they want to monetize it. And I personally think I'll be happy with it as long as they don't restrict any gameplay-based stuff, and as long as there are ways to earn lots of different cosmetics as well as those potential premium variants. So only time will tell for this. I'm sure it would be way too involved and detailed to share in one of these simple Q&As, but I did get the impression from the first beta that so much of the gameplay, if not essentially all of it, would be just part of the free-to-play experience. And then I also had lots of cosmetics that I could earn myself just through the gameplay. They didn't have a shop implemented at that time to see what would be monetized and what wouldn't. But I do really want to take another look at it in this upcoming beta and kind of see where things could be monetized so we can get a better idea on this. And again, really pay attention to how much is earnable, which in the first beta, everything was earnable. So yeah, we will just have to wait and see on this, but I, again, am really happy to hear that reassurance that they know we don't want to win Aniimo via gacha. The next question asks whether important rewards like currency or rare cosmetics will be locked behind PvP or multiplayer content. And the response to this is that they believe it's important to encourage Pathfinders to try different types of gameplay, and giving us good rewards is one way of encouraging us. And besides gameplay, there will be other ways for Pathfinders to get what they're looking for, and they'll share more updates on this in the future. So to me, this sounds like, yes, there will be rewards, that are tied to multiplayer content, but it does also sound like they're going to either be providing alternatives for, other gameplay methods like single player content that are just as good, Or maybe there will be another way to earn that same reward that doesn't involve multiplayer. I personally enjoy both single player and multiplayer gameplay, but I definitely prefer like PvE versus PvP, so player versus environment versus player versus player. That being said, I personally don't have a problem with, certain rewards being given exclusively for certain types of gameplay, because I have the option to try it out myself to earn that reward, or I have the option to pass on that reward and that gameplay experience. I think as long as there's good rewards for every aspect of the game, then there's something for everyone, and you have the choice whether or not you want to go for that reward or not. And I do think it is important that there are rewards for all these different types of gameplay, because especially when you're working together in something like the egg heist, you want to have an awesome reward at the end for all of the teamwork you put in, to the gameplay. So it makes sense to me, and we'll just have to wait and see exactly how it's going to be structured. But, I wouldn't worry too much if you're maybe not a fan of multiplayer gameplay. You're going to have tons of stuff to unlock as a solo player as well. So I wouldn't worry too much, but we will wait and see on this as well. And the final question, which actually got me really thinking, is whether we'll be able to own both Lunara and Helion later on in the story or in the future. And so for those of you who may be unfamiliar, these are the two potential Aniimo that you can pick as your starter. So Lunara is this beautiful white fox-like sort of creature, and Helion is this cute little golden lion-like creature. They're both adorable, and they seem to represent the sun and the moon. Now, they did answer, wow, that would be amazing, but unfortunately, you can't own both at the same time. It might be possible to trade them in the future, though. So, to me, this sounds like you'll never be able to have both. I'm not sure if I'm misinterpreting this, because they said you can't own both at the same time, but it might be possible to trade them in the future. So maybe like if you picked one, you could trade it for the other in the future, maybe. But this is really, really solidifying how important it is that you make the decision you're going to be happy with between Lunara and Helion, unless you want to start a new save. So someone like me who can be very indecisive is panicking a little bit, because I'm like, how do I pick between the moon and the sun? Sunstone, moonstone? I don't know. Lunara and Helion, they're both so cute. I did pick Lunara in my time with the first beta. I'm tempted to pick Helion in the second beta to just, get a feel for Helion and experience that before the full game releases. And I really have to commit to just one of the two because they're both adorable. But definitely start thinking about that so you'll be prepared when it comes time to make that decision. And let me know down in the comments if you already know Lunara or Helion. Which one would you pick? Can you pick? If you're having trouble deciding, don't worry, you're in good company. But there you have it, friends. That was the latest new information about Aniimo. But the developers have shared plans to do some future Q&A sessions, which I'll be sure to cover on the channel, so definitely stay tuned for more exciting updates. As always, feel free to share your thoughts with me on the new information discussed today down in the comments. Anything and everything, I always love hearing from you. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. And until next time, take care.